Welcome to this week's Teenage Mutant Fight Club podcast, where we dive into those kind of wild stories, the tales of teen heroes and underdog outcasts, from the world of flash fiction, and we present them in a fun, entertaining, like a blockbuster action film kind of style. So
Yeah, and today we're embarking on a journey into two interconnected flash fiction stories. You've probably heard of them, The Enchanted Keepers and Maze Defenders. Yeah.
yeah, I love these stories. They're so much fun.
Oh, they're great, and it's think of it kind of like a double feature, right?
Yeah.
But instead of like explosions and car chases, we've got fantastical home security, but taken to a whole other level. It's like wildly imaginative.
Exactly. In both of these flash fiction stories, we meet these siblings, right?
Right.
And they're just thrust into this role of like protectors of their homes. I mean, we're not talking like ordinary homes here. These are they're unusual to say the
To
least.
say the least, yeah.
And they're up against like some serious otherworldly threats. Like in one, we've got wizards who are after this powerful artifact, and in the other, it's like a whole horde of trolls invading. I mean, come on.
It's a lot for anyone to handle, right?
Yeah.
But what's really fascinating is how these kids, they're just ordinary kids, right? They don't have like any inherent magical abilities or anything,
Nope, none.
but they manage to like use the unique and often very chaotic magic of their houses to not just survive, which would be impressive enough,
Oh, for sure.
but to actually triumph.
They totally outsmart these powerful beings,
They do.
which is pretty awesome.
Yeah. And that's really what we're going to be looking at today. Our sources for this journey, as we're calling it, are these two flash fiction stories.
Mm-hmm.
Each one gives us a glimpse into, how resourcefulness and really understanding your environment can be so much more powerful than any spell or, any brute force. So
Yeah.
Our mission today is to really unpack how these seemingly whimsical dwellings become these incredible defense systems and what that tells us about our own, hidden strengths maybe and the power of, well, home, really.
I love that, because it really makes you think about like what are the things in our own lives that we take for granted or maybe don't see the full potential of. So, okay, let's jump right in. Let's journey, as you said, into the first flash fiction story, which is The Enchanted Keepers. And it starts off, it kind of throws us right into the weirdness of it all with shifting rooms. Ben, one of the siblings, he's clearly frustrated. He even says, this isn't a house, it's a Rubik's Cube with a mind of its own. And I think, a lot of us can relate to that feeling of like our space just not cooperating with us.
Oh, absolutely. Like
Why?
that sense of like, where did I put my keys?
Yeah.
And, was the couch always facing this way?
Mhm.
It taps into that.
Exactly. And then we have Anya, she's actually amused by this, like casually perched on a bookcase that just wasn't there a minute ago.
Yeah, like it's no big deal.
Exactly. It suggests that, maybe she's just more used to the house's, eccentricities or even enjoys them, and I think that difference in their reactions is really interesting because it kind of hints at like different ways of coping with the unexpected, something we all have to deal with.
It is, yeah. Anya's, her adaptability, it's almost like a superpower in itself in a way, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's definitely a strength.
Yeah. And then we meet Kai, the youngest sibling, and he's got this book, right?
Yeah, the grandmother's book.
Their grandmother's book, The Whimsical Dwellings of Eccentric Ancestors.
What a title.
What a title. Right. And he mentions these wards. He's talking about these wards that react to intent, which, it kind of suggests that there's a logic to the house's strangeness, even if
Yeah.
it is, a magical logic.
It's not just random chaos, right?
It's responsive. Yeah.
Right. And then, I mean, things take a pretty wild turn when the threat actually shows up. I mean, forget about burglars picking locks, right? The front door just like dissolves and these robed wizards just like appear. I mean, they're described as having this predatory sort of hunger, and it's clear they're not there for tea and biscuits.
No, they're after something specific.
Yeah, an artifact, something their ancestor hid. And it's like that moment, this is serious stuff. This is high stakes fantasy.
Definitely. And Ben's reaction, he's kind of bewildered. He says, "We don't have magic."
Yeah. It's like they're totally outmatched.
Totally. They're just ordinary kids facing, these powerful wizards. It's a classic underdog scenario.
It is. Have you ever felt that way, like facing a challenge where you just felt totally out of your depth?
Oh, absolutely. I think we all have at some point.
Yeah, yeah, me too. But then Anya, she just comes out with this amazing line. She says, "But the house does," and it's like that's the moment everything shifts, right? It's like she reframes the whole conflict. It's not about them having magic. It's about them understanding and using the magic that's already there in their home.
It's brilliant. It's like she's seeing the potential that everyone else is overlooking. And it makes you think about like your own life, right? What are those things that we might be missing, those hidden advantages that are right there in front of us?
It's a good question. So okay, here's where the story gets really exciting. Anya, she doesn't try to, like fight these wizards head on or anything. I mean, that would be suicide.
Right.
Instead, she starts using the house's quirks as like offensive maneuvers. First they escape through this slide that just like appears, right? And it takes them straight into a greenhouse, but not just any greenhouse.
Filled with carnivorous plants.
Carnivorous plants? I mean, talk about home security with teeth.
It's amazing. They're using the house's own weirdness to their advantage.
And it just gets crazier. I mean, there's this tapestry, right? And Anya just pulls on it, and boom, the wizards are caught in this quicksand illusion.
Like something out of an Indiana Jones movie.
It totally is. And then there's Kai, the youngest one. He blasts this polka music on this enchanted gramophone, and it's so loud and chaotic that it just completely disorients the wizards. I mean, it's chaos as a weapon.
It's brilliant, though, isn't it?
Right.
They're not trying to, like, overpower these wizards with magic. They're just confusing them, using their environment to create this crazy, unpredictable situation.
And it works.
It does. They're playing to their strengths.
Mhm.
They're using what they have, and they're using it well.
It's a good lesson for all of us, really. And then the house itself starts to like fight back. I mean, we have this stuffed griffin, right? It's like a hunting trophy.
Yeah, kind of creepy.
It is, but it comes to life just long enough to like scare off these nosy neighbors.
A nice little aside.
It is.
Mm.
It is. But later, things get even more ridiculous when this armchair, this super comfy armchair, just launches the lead wizard like straight out the window
We do a koi pond.
into a koi pond filled with piranhas. It's like the house is this character in the story.
It is. It blurs that line between, like, a sentient space and just a really well-enchanted one.
Mm.
It's never really clear, is it?
No, it's not. And that's part of what makes it so fun. So as the story goes on, the wizards, they're getting more and more frustrated, more determined.
And Anya realizes they need to change their strategy.
Yeah, they can't just keep running and hiding.
Right.
They have to stop the wizards from getting the artifact in the first place. And so they decide to try and misplace it, as they call it. And that leads to Kai's idea, which is just, it's brilliant. He suggests hiding the amulet, which is what the wizards are after, on the bust of their, like, this really scary-looking thrice great uncle. I mean, it's the last place you'd think to look, right?
It's so obvious, it's almost invisible.
It is, and it shows, like, how well they understand the house, how they know that the best way to hide something is to make it, like, part of the everyday.
Yeah, it's like that saying, hiding in plain sight.
Exactly. And then the final trap they set for the wizards, it's almost comical.
It's like something out of a cartoon.
It is. They lure the remaining wizards into this room that they've made look like a treasure room.
Which, to be fair for wizards, is probably pretty tempting.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But then the room seals itself shut.
And the wizards are trapped.
They're trapped. And not only that, but there's this sticky transfiguration ward that leaves behind these like wizard-shaped silhouettes stuck to the ceiling. I mean, it's hilarious.
It is. And it's a bit dark, too.
Oh, definitely. It shows that the house, it's not just playful, it's dangerous.
It's got teeth, as you said before, literally and figuratively.
Yeah. And afterwards, the siblings, they're reflecting on what happened.
And Ben wonders if the house was maybe a bit overzealous, which I think is a bit of an understatement.
Just a bit. And then Anya, she realizes something really important. She says that their ordinariness, the fact that they were just kids, was their best camouflage. The wizards never suspected that they could be outsmarting them.
It's a good point. They underestimated them.
And there's this nice moment with Kai. He's starting to feel a sense of pride in his connection to this strange house.
He's not afraid of it anymore. He's starting to see it as something he can understand and work with.
It's a shift in perspective.
It is. It's really about belonging and and finding strength in unexpected places.
Okay, so let's move on to the second flash fiction story, which is Maze Defenders. And right from the start, the tone is totally different, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's much darker, more intense.
There's this feral, musty stench, and they find these claw marks.
Definitely not friendly neighborhood cats.
No,
Yeah.
definitely not. And then they discover that their attic has turned into this crazy maze of mirrors.
But they're not ordinary mirrors, are they?
No, they're portals, like windows into other worlds.
Which is pretty dangerous, as Anya quickly finds out.
Yeah, she gets cut by one of the mirrors, and it's described as feeling like obsidian. It's a real physical threat now.
Absolutely. The stakes are much higher in this story.
And then Ben, he finds this journal that explains everything. It talks about these unstable portals that respond to intent, and it's clear that their house, it's not just a house, it's this barrier, this bulwark against invasion.
They have a pretty big responsibility for an old house.
It is. And they never asked for it, did they?
No. But they're the ones who have to deal with it now.
And just like in the first story, they don't suddenly become like these warriors or anything. They're still just kids, but now they're driven by this fear, this need to protect themselves and their home.
And it's that fear that fuels their ingenuity.
It does. I mean, we see Kai, right? He just instinctively reacts to this huge mirror by redirecting sunlight onto it. It's such a simple solution, but it works. He repels a troll with sunlight.
He does. And it's a good reminder that sometimes the simplest solutions are the most effective. It's all about seeing the potential in what's around you.
And Anya, she's just as quick-witted. I mean, she manages to trap a troll in this blizzard in another dimension just by using a small mirror. It's amazing how quickly they adapt to this crazy situation.
It's impressive. They're not trying to fight these trolls head on. They're using the mirrors, the portals themselves, as weapons.
They're turning the environment against the invaders.
Exactly.
But the trolls, they're relentless, and the mirrors start to crack, which is like terrifying.
The boundaries between worlds are literally breaking down. It's no longer just about protecting their house. It's about protecting, well, everything.
It's a much bigger threat now. And so Ben, he finds this spell, the stability spell.
And it needs a focus.
Yeah, something to anchor it. And they find it in the most unlikely place, right? Their grandmother's jewelry collection.
Yeah, all this, what was it described as, gaudy jewelry?
Roddy, yeah. But it turns out to be exactly what they need. And it's such a great reminder that, things aren't always what they seem. What might seem useless can actually be incredibly valuable.
Absolutely. It's all about context.
So Kai, he takes this obsidian shard, right? And he focuses on home, not just the physical house, but like the feeling of home. And he manages to stabilize the largest portal. And it's a really powerful moment. It ties back to that theme of belonging and the strength that comes from it.
It does. It's like that connection to home is what gives them the power to do this incredible thing.
And the shadows retreat and the portals close. And it's like they've won. They've actually won.
But it's not over yet, is it?
No, it's not. And the aftermath, it's interesting. Kai finds this ordinary piece of glass on the floor. And it's like a symbol of like the contrast between the magic they've just experienced in their everyday lives.
It grounds them, brings them back to reality.
It does. And Anya, she wants to tell their grandmother about everything that's happened.
Which is understandable.
It is, but Ben, he wants to keep it a secret.
Which is also understandable given what they've just been through.
It is. It shows how differently they're processing this whole experience.
But one thing they do agree on is that they're now the keepers of this house's magic.
They are. And their bond, it's stronger because of it, They've faced this incredible threat together, and they've come out the other side.
They've found strength in each other and in their connection to their home.
So when we look at both of these stories, the Enchanted Keepers and Maze Defenders, I mean, what does it all mean? What can we take away from them?
Well, I think, we see these ordinary teenagers who are suddenly faced with these extraordinary, even dangerous situations. And they don't have any special powers or any training, but they manage to not only survive, but thrive.
And it seems like it all comes down to their connection to their homes, right? Even though those homes are, well, pretty unusual.
Yeah, they're not your typical suburban homes, but it's that connection, that understanding of their environment that allows them to be so resourceful.
They use what's around them, even the weird stuff, to their advantage.
Exactly. They don't try to fight on the enemy's terms. They use the peculiarities of their own space as their weapon.
And it works?
It does. And it makes you think, right, like, what about our own lives? What potential are we overlooking in our own surroundings? What if we started seeing those quirks and those oddities not as inconveniences, but as opportunities, as strengths?
That's a great point. It's like we're so used to looking for solutions outside of ourselves, but maybe the answers are right here, all around us.
Maybe. And I think, these stories, they leave us with this really provocative thought. In a world that's so focused on external power, on obvious strengths, maybe true resilience is about understanding and using the unique magic of our own homes, whatever that might be. It's about finding those hidden strengths that are right there in plain sight, waiting to be discovered.
And maybe it's about, embracing the weirdness, the unexpected, the things that make us and our homes our homes.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this journey. We'll see you next week for another adventure with the Teenage Mutant Fight Club podcast. So, until then, keep exploring, keep discovering, and keep embracing the magic in your own life, whatever that might be.
See you next week.
Bye.